The reason you have not seen a red wave, the reason there was not a red wave in 2022 was because of redistricting. Because the lines were drawn in such a way that you created a bunch of safe seats.
Yeah.
So you made it harder for you to flip congressional seats, but you made it to where you're going to keep your majority. Welcome back to A Better Conversation. Your computer is not busted. We are in our new studios with our new fancy TV and logo in the background. But thank you for joining A Better Conversation. As always, I'm your host, Chris Clement. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the mustache, and the beautiful shirt. If you can't see this, very Texas shirt.
Love it.
Mr. Kyle Mason.
Thank you so much. This is the best $7 I've ever spent on a shirt. So many compliments tonight. People are like, do I compliment the mustache? Do I compliment the shirt?
Yeah. The answer is yes.
Yes.
You compliment the mustache and the shirt.
Came from a Collin County Young Republican / Plano Republican women's event. The house is packed. I think there's probably over 50 people, several reps, several people running. It was a really good time, so I do appreciate the invite.
So what you're telling me is they were there for you, is what I'm hearing.
I didn't say that.
I'm hearing,
but
I knew you were going to be there. I heard through the grapevine you were going to be there. And it seems like you did not disappoint.
Right. They're like, any reps want to say anything? Oh, where's that guy with the mustache?
Hey, Kyle, will you dance?
Yeah. Exactly.
Excellent two-stepper, by the way. Not insinuating he's doing any Magic Mike type stuff, although you probably could. But ladies, if you want to be swung around dance floor, Kyle Mason's your man.
All right.
So there's a few things going on in the world right now. We took a week off, kind of a little bit of a brief summer break for A Better Conversation. But we're back, and we got to talk about the special session here in Texas, get into the redistricting a little bit. Apparently, we are not supposed to talk about Jeffrey Epstein because it doesn't matter, but we might. And then, of course, we've got Kyle's current events that we'll get into later.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start. You know what? Let's just start talking about Epstein.
Okay. Sounds good.
So
apparently it's a giant Democrat scam, and it has been the whole time, except for the fact that it hasn't been. And I feel like I'm in 1984 where, hey, this is actually the new history, and you must erase everything else before and rewrite history.
Fortunately, the internet is forever.
Yes.
So you can't really do that.
People don't forget.
People don't forget. But I repeatedly say unserious people doing serious work.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the biggest thing with Epstein, no matter what the ultimate truth ends up being. Whether you have a vast cover-up of some giant pedophile ring, or you have a total, hey, this guy was just a heinous pedophile. I say just because there's not a giant worldwide conspiracy with it.
Right.
And,
could just be him.
You know, either way that the cookie crumbles, man, you've got a lot of irresponsible people that have got us to this point. There are a lot of people in media. There are a lot of people that were running for office. If we start off by saying, if we take Trump for his word, that there is no list, right? He doesn't have a list. Well, then why was our AG saying that there was a list?
Got the list on my desk.
And why do we have a FBI director, an assistant FBI director that kind of made both of their careers-ish, definitely made themselves more famous
100%
on all of the Epstein stuff? This is where it gets to the point where, like, it's probably either irresponsible to put them in those positions. It was irresponsible for those people to take such hard positions without actually knowing the facts, without actually seeing the evidence. So it's just like, for me, it's like, if the answer is there is no list, there still needs to be a culling that happens in the administration.
A calling for sure. Chris, you're making me build a muscle that I don't have, which is like, you make several good points, and I'm like, okay, I have to touch on this one. I have to touch, and I'm building, like, as you're talking, you know, you're good at that because you're a lawyer, but like I'm building multiple questions and scenarios like simultaneously, like going down in my mind.
Neuroplasticity at work.
Neuroplasticity. So the first thing is this: like everyone talks about, like, oh, the pedo ring, the kids. It's like it's a difference without distinction, and I'm not going to try to get like in the weeds about it, but like these were probably like 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. So it's not
Right.
like kids. Regardless, it's wrong. But the next thing a lot of people forget about Jeffrey Epstein is that like, what if on the list what they're saying is true, is like, no, it was just him and he had this really disgusting habit. Who did he launder money for? That was his biggest thing. That's what he's known for. He handled the giant accounts. He'd already been through he's already been through trials for money laundering. He's had situations, and it's like, maybe that's it. Like, maybe Trump's like, hey, I don't want this list to come out, not because, going back to Alex Jones and all the things that, they had talked about in Pizzagate and all this stuff, like maybe none of that is true. And what the administration's saying is, now I'm not agreeing with this, but I'm just saying, let's play devil's advocate here of like, hey, maybe that is literally just Jeffrey Epstein. For some weird reason, he just wanted to see himself on camera, right? And he wasn't a Mossad, or he wasn't working for the CIA, but maybe they do have a lot of documentation where he smuggled or embezzled a lot of money for a lot of people in America. Maybe Donald Trump had money embezzled, or he handled those accounts. It's very well known that right now, a lot of donors of the Trump campaign and people that like JD Vance and some of those larger donors did manage money or have Epstein manage their money. So maybe this is the whole thing. And people are just kind of like skimming over that. I'm kind of the mindset it was more likely that. I think it's much more plausible that it's a money thing rather than Jeffrey Epstein put a bunch of people on the plane, and people of high stature was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so cool. He's bringing me all these young girls. Let me lay on this bed. What's that blinking in the corner? Right. Oh, it's nothing. Whatever. Let me just, like, I don't believe that. My guard is always up everywhere I go. And I've had very minimal training. Like in the Navy, they make you do this little click through PowerPoint slide of like, hey, did you know back in the 80s there was a Marine that like fell in love with this Russian, 10 out of 10, and surprise, she was a 8. It's like, it's so obvious. It's like, you have your guard up. You don't have to be a genius to realize that, like, dude, this girl is way out of your league, and there's really no reason she would even be talking to you.
Why are you telling me this, Kyle?
Well, because Kash Patel,
I thought you were insinuating something about me.
Oh no, I can see why
okay.
your girl is interested in you. No, but like, like for instance, Kash Patel. There's a lot of going around about Kash. He was, I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna make the FBI into a museum the day one, and all. He's a podcast bro, and I listened to a lot of his interviews, and I did build a lot of respect for him. He's scared. He's seeing his eyes. He's hiding from the public. And it's coming out that his girlfriend, which is very, very hot, has links to foreign intelligence agencies. That is not necessarily a conspiracy theory. It's not an Alex Jones thing. It's like very well documented.
Right.
So it's like, hold on one second. Like, what is really going on here? And I've lost track of the other things I was going to talk about, but that's kind of the main thing. I think people are really getting bogged down in like, is Donald Trump or some of these people like, getting caught with underage girls? It probably is more about money.
I don't know.
It's hard. We don't know. Why don't you just release the files and just let us know there's nothing there? It's like, this is a really, I'm sorry, and I'll finish on this.
No,
I'll let you take the floor, but it's kind of like this. And not to say like, hey, all of us have probably been here and you're probably not proud of it, but it's like, or you've been on the other side of this and it's like, hey, are you cheating on me? No, I'm not cheating on you. Okay, cool. Well, let me see your phone. No, there's nothing to see. Don't even worry about it. The gig's up. Like, she knows, she knows. She knows, she knows. It's like, dude, just show me that nothing is there and we're good. But instead, you're willing to melt away several percentage points of your base, whatever that may end up being next November, it's going to be a significant amount at this point, because it doesn't seem like anything that this administration does right now, you can't get away from it. People just don't care, including myself. I'm like, hey man, like I'm having this serious issue with you right now. The floor is yours, Senator.
I'm never giving up my phone. I just want to make sure that that's on the record.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care what allegations you lay against me.
God, I was just a metaphor. Let's not even go down
Unless
that.
unless you show up with a court-ordered subpoena, and I'm not in the mood to spend some time in jail defying that subpoena, you're not getting into my phone. I just want to make sure that the record accurately reflects that.
That's cool.
But here, the thing with the Epstein stuff for me comes down to, I just want to see, I want to build upon evidence.
Yeah.
And one of the weird things that happened to me, I would say, over the last couple of weeks, because I will say, like, from the get-go, I was all on board with all the Epstein stuff. Who knows if he's with an intelligence agency? There's so much about it that doesn't make sense, that stinks.
Yes.
Your mind as a human being starts to try to connect the dots. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason that we all play connect the dot when we're kids, because our brain wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a meme probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, that was, if there's no list, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? Right? And
Right.
so then I looked at it, and Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of grooming and trafficking, but only for Epstein.
Only to Epstein.
And the witnesses at her trial only testified about Epstein. There wasn't an indictment. There weren't charges against her for doing this for third parties. It was her and Epstein did this sick thing to these girls. And so that for me was kind of, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, that was kind of surprising for me. The Epstein case is not something that I ever like really got in the weeds on. I just generally despised him and everybody associated with him, which I kind of think is how most people looked at it.
Right.
So when I would see the memes, and I would repeat to myself, oh, well, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail if there's no list?
Yeah.
Well,
it's
nope.
a reasonable question.
Right. And it turns out that's why. And the more that I started looking at it, and I was like, well, there's got to be. And there's like one woman that makes almost all of the big salacious claims. She's the one, I can't remember what her name is now.
She just recently died.
Yes, that one. Tiffany, I think. I don't know. We can look it up. She's the one that makes almost all of the big claims.
Yeah.
And she's not a reliable or credible witness. And I'm saying that as a trial lawyer, right? I mean, the lawsuit that she had against Dershowitz, where she basically had to admit that she was wrong about, she files a defamation claim, sues Alan Dershowitz for defamation, for denying that he was involved in all the Epstein stuff and refuting what she said. Turns out through the course of that litigation, she ultimately ends up dismissing all the claims against him and admitting that, maybe she was wrong about him. She made a mistake identifying him. And my thing is like, where are all of these other girls that were allegedly smuggled to all of these other powerful people? And the only thing that I could find, and I'm not saying that I am the preeminent expert on Epstein, but from what I looked into, there's like another Jane Doe. We've never figured out who this Jane Doe is, but there's another Jane Doe that makes a couple of allegations about other people.
Right.
But it's not the Lolita Express, and there were a ton of girls on this island, and powerful and rich people from all over the world were coming to the island and doing that. Other than the one person that we just don't have witnesses on that.
Right.
We don't have allegations on that. That to me was shocking. I was very surprised at that. I expected to be able to look it up and find like tons and tons, or not tons, but like maybe a dozen or 5 or 6 or whatever witnesses and people that have come forward on this sort of stuff. There's a lot of people coming forward. There's a lot of women coming forward about Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, but just not all the other stuff. So that for me was kind of a revelation point. And again, it's an imperfect amount of information, but that was the first time for me that I was like, oh, maybe that's right. Right? I'm not saying that it definitely is, but like maybe there isn't a list. Maybe conservative media, maybe people wanting to score political brownie points, maybe the algorithm that knew what we wanted to see was feeding us all of this stuff for so long that we all kind of believed it with smoke and mirrors.
So very well could happen. The smoke and mirror, I mean, it is because we're living in that age of like sensationalism, and I'm driving down the road and I listen to this podcast, and some of these people are very well spoken. They're great orators. They're convincing. And you're like, oh wow, and then you go on about your day, right? And then as the years go by or the months go by, and like this narrative in your mind is built,
right?
For you as a lawyer, I mean, is it possible that when the the prosecutor was building this case, they were very selective on making sure that, for instance, the Maxwell, they were focused on, okay, she was trafficking only people to Epstein. And they're like, let's not go outside that bubble, because maybe that opens up, maybe not even maliciously, but if they go outside that bubble, now it's going to be harder to prove these other things. If we just prove that Maxwell trafficked for Epstein, we can nail him on that.
Right.
Do you think that's a possibility that ended up happening?
For sure.
Okay.
Right. There's definitely a possibility, because look, we know for a fact that you have that one woman that made allegations that there were other people involved. Right. She definitely made allegations that there was a larger criminal conspiracy. So it is possible that the prosecutor, the U.S. Attorney's Office going after Epstein, indicting Epstein, decided they wanted to limit it in scope to just the two of them. They did not want to entertain or do any of the thing for any of these other people that are involved. That's definitely possible. I think the long-term career of the USA's involved in this may reveal whether that was the case, because I can tell you one thing. Most of the time, prosecutors, they want the biggest possible case that they can bring.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy moving up the ranks in the Department of Justice. It's not easy moving up the ranks on the prosecution side in general, becoming a district attorney or whatever you want to be. It becomes a lot easier when you're the one that's got the gigantic conviction, right? If a U.S. attorney, and remember, it was the Trump administration in 2019 that first brought us these charges and stuff against Epstein.
Right.
If you're an aspiring AUSA and you have the ability to bring a claim against, and I'm doing this purely for the sake of example,
okay,
against, I don't know, Bill Gates or against Bill Clinton or any of the other people that are tied to Epstein. If you had the opportunity to bring those claims, you're almost assuredly going to do it, because your name is now much more prominent. It's much bigger out there. If there's the goods, right? If there is the evidence. If you did a raid of the Epstein penthouse and you found videos of these people, or you found, some other sort of damning evidence or something along those lines. But again, a question that I've asked people, and I kind of transitioned to this, is, what would it take for you to believe the Trump administration in saying that there is no list? Because you talk about just show us what you got. And the question that I have on that, and it's sort of a thought experiment, is how much is enough? At what point would you be satisfied that they really did give you everything that they have, that they're not holding anything back?
Well, see, and therein lies the problem.
Well, I'm asking you specifically.
Me specifically.
Because I think that's the most helpful way to talk about this. Like, in your mind, At what point would you be like, I'm satisfied that they did give us everything that they've got?
Okay, so and I'll kind of start with the same I was about to go down. I mean, therein lies the problem because now I have lost trust in this thing. If let's say they said, "Oh, there is no list. Don't even worry about it." I'm trying to pull up the truth that he had put out. If you don't believe me, you're not one of my supporters. If he would have come out with even just as a cover up of like, "Hey, here's a few little bits," I think that would have had a less of a blowback than there is none. And I've been like, "Okay, cool, whatever. Let's just move on." But now I don't know if there is an actual amount. You know what I'm saying? Like he's backed himself into a corner. Everyone's pissed off. No, everyone's shifty-eyed about the whole thing. I don't know if there is an amount of evidence they can release that would be like, okay, that's sufficient. Because it's like, okay, you did the raid on the New York penthouse. You did these different houses. They still didn't go to the one in France. Like, what about what was found here? What's found there? You release this stuff. I don't know, man. Because now I feel the whole thing is like, dude, you are covering for something I don't know what, but the trust has been lost.
I think that's the real issue.
Yes.
Because when it comes to, so even in you saying you're covering, the assumption that you're making is that there is a list, is that there is something greater there than just this really wealthy guy was a pedophile and so is his girlfriend, and they did this weird stuff. Because I don't think it's a reach to say that super wealthy people that have everything they want have some strange predilections.
Right.
Whether it be sexual in nature or obsessed with watches or a certain type of car or anything like that. Like, you have no problem believing that those sort of things go on, or that people get obsessed about things or fascinated about things, whatever.
That's right.
But there's an entirely different thing of, oh, this guy had this big international sex trafficking pedophilia ring. Sex trafficking, whether it was girls of age or not of age, he had this ring, right?
Right.
That requires greater evidence. And we all assume that evidence is there.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about it being a cover-up because we all assume that the evidence is there. Or we all think that the evidence is there. And the reason we think the evidence is there is because I think we've been irresponsibly told by people that it is. Or it is a cover-up, right? Like, that's kind of where we're at.
Yes.
And so either way, everybody should have a profound lack of trust. I don't know how you trust Pam Bondi as the AG when she said that she had it on her desk.
On her desk. She's the one, like, that's the one that needs to go right now.
Right. And it's just like, I'm not saying that Pam Bondi can't have a great career at the end of the day, but she made a terrible mistake in saying that.
Yeah.
And there should be consequences to that. And look, there's part of it with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino where it's like, hey guys, I'm sorry, but y'all made such a big deal about this for so long that you now sitting here in charge of the FBI saying that there is no list, like you again, no one's going to trust you. Your continued existence within my administration.
Yeah.
Like, these are some of the things that it's just like, yeah, these people got to go.
They got to go. I mean, I feel bad for them because, look, the thing is that you don't have to be a professional poker player to look at that interview where they did that. They both were in the same interview. You could tell they were disgusted with what they were saying. Both of them were pale. Their expressions, their energy, everything. You could tell that they were not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So I'm going to push back a little bit on that. I think it's undeniable that they were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it's undeniable that sitting there in that interview, those two guys were very uncomfortable. But the question is why were they uncomfortable? Were they uncomfortable because they were lying and covering up a conspiracy? Or were they uncomfortable because they knew for a fact that by saying that there was nothing, that they were just about to get lambasted and they were about to lose? Honestly, if Dan Bongino went back out there and started up his podcast again, how much of a hit do you think he's taken in his ratings?
Oh, it would be huge. I
Right.
mean, I think that he's. I don't want to say he's done, but
He won't be done. He'll be forgiven. He'll have people that continue to listen. He won't be as big as he was before.
so here's the thing. So on Dan Bongino, the dude didn't show up for work on that Friday. Took a day of leave. You know, there's all this, oh, we got inside information, you know, like DC Drano and all these people are like, oh, you know, he's very upset with this and this. It's like, okay, well, what's with the turmoil then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like all these like little breadcrumbs kind of, you don't really know where they're leading you because it's not in a single file trail. It's just
Right.
everywhere. You're just finding them. And it's like, what is going on? Okay, so we kind of got that. But like past all that, the political implications of this. Right now, we've hit on. I mean, I don't feel great about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was never. I mean, I like to say this, but maybe that's not true. But like, I wouldn't say like I'm a diehard Trump guy. I love Trump. There's a lot I like about the guy. But this really makes me pissed off, and it just like, hey, okay, great, you just announced another trade deal tonight with Japan. Don't care.
Right.
I mean, the energy is gone. It really is because, and I had told another one of our board members about this. It's like, if Trump comes in and we get some mild tax cut, the corporations get their tax cut, and we get to keep paying what we've already been paying for the past 5 years, you know, and our GDP number gets better or whatever, it's like, I don't give a shit. And to me, that is a failed presidency. And the idea behind MAGA and America First would be failed over the 4 years. And the person that we sent to DC, or the people that we sent to DC, had failed on their mission. Because MAGA, America First, is not about economics. And so now this whole thing is it's just a giant rain cloud over everything good that is happening,
Mm-hmm.
and the momentum that is happening going down the road. I really think that the Trump administration needs to put out as much information as they feel they can, just politically speaking. It would be awesome if they just released everything. But I think at this point, we can all see that's not going to happen for one reason or another. I think that it is for influence and covering other people's asses, et cetera, et cetera. But put out as much information as possible, burn a few people, fire Pan Bondi. I mean, you got to call, like you said, call the herd, and try to salvage what you can, and do not wait until after Christmas to take care of this. If you wait till the next year, the door knockers are not going to go out. Your base is not going to show up. And all the people that you got from the Brosphere and the other podcast and all these independents that come out, they just aren't going to trust you. They're not going to want to show up. They don't really show up to begin with in the midterm, but you know who's really motivated right now is the Democrats.
The podcast bros are gone.
The podcast bros are gone.
All right, so
they're done.
Here's the thing. Here's why this is such a. I think it has such a big implication. Why you feel the way you do is because Trump's draw was Trump. Trump's draw was never policy. He was never a thought leader. But Trump was, like it, you know, for good or for worse, Trump was authentic, right? And that was, if you're a Trump supporter, like you trusted him and he was authentic. And all of his missteps weren't missteps, they were validations that he was authentic. The comments of, the grab him by the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't for other politicians, even today, that's a career killer.
Yeah, you're done.
But for Trump, it was, yeah, that's how guys talk. That's authentic, right? That's him being authentic. The stuff that he would do at rallies, the stuff like the Truth Social, the tweets, there's all sorts of things that for other people would have been career killers. But for Trump, it was just another example of how he says what he meant, right? He wasn't a polished politician. What we liked is he was just honest about it. Epstein stuff just absolutely dumped a bucket of ice water on that for so many people, where it's just like that. And I don't want to say blind, but that full faith that they had in Trump to be honest with them and be authentic with them. This is I think the first thing for a lot of Trump supporters where it's like, I feel like he's lying to me. I don't think that he's being honest. I think he's being another politician and covering for people. Mm-hmm. And that to me, like, there's a lot of those, you said, the podcast bros that are gone, that you can't come back from that. Like, if you talk about the girlfriend needing to read your cell phone,
yeah,
I'm sorry. If your girlfriend needs to read your cell phone to trust that you're not cheating on her, then it doesn't matter what she finds on that cell phone. If she finds nothing in the cell phone, it just meant that you deleted the texts. And I honestly think that's where a lot of people are right now with the Trump administration, which is why you don't care about all of the conventional successes that he will continue to have. Hey, the fact that we've got a budget surplus won't matter. The fact that we have record unemployment won't matter. The fact that, the economy is booming won't matter, that the tax cuts won't matter, that the increased border security won't matter, because none of those things are really the core things that tied you to Trump. It was that authenticity, and that's gone for a lot of people now.
It definitely is gone. Now, Trump has lied before, and I've said that, like, no, that's a lie. Like, I've called it out in real time to myself, to my family, to my friends. I'm like, no, that's a lie. But it was always like in the Trump-esque like way that he says stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be the greatest ever. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. It's like bombastic, and it's just like, or just maybe that's not the best example, but I was like, no, that's an outright lie. That's not objectively true. But I never really cared just because of his character, and he really is just like he is like a cartoon character,
right?
And that he's a showman, and it's just like, okay, that's fine, but like now you're actually in office, and it's like this was a huge thing, and this guy, these people, the swamp, you're gonna drain the swamp. These people tried to put you in jail for 330 years. They try to seize your assets. They sued and arrested your lawyers. They came after your children. They arrested your friends. And you want to go back with the blessing of a massive majority as far as the popular vote, state legislators, the Senate, the House, and play ball with these people. Like, well, I got to protect these people on the list because maybe they'll accept me. Just like in 2016 when he didn't go after Clinton, he's like, I don't want to hurt these people. It's all going to be good. Bro, it ain't good because you're not part of them and they hate you. And it's like he, from the outside looking in, it's like, what do you not get?
So honestly, man, that to me, I know you don't intend it to be, but to me, that's evidence that there's not a list.
That they don't have anything to release?
That there's not. There's certainly more things that they can release.
Yeah.
But as far as there being a list, I mean, here's everything you just said is like, well, none of that sounds like Trump to me.
What do you mean?
Well, look, if Trump had the ability to burn down Joe Biden or some other, liberal sacred cow,
Well, he's going after Obama. He's taking the time to go after Obama.
well, that's what I'm saying. If he had the ability to do it, he's doing it. Just like the whole thing about Trump being on the Epstein list. Really? Are we to believe that the Biden administration, when they were in office for 4 years with all the Epstein lists, would it just sat on Trump being on the list? Of course not.
No, of course not. No, no.
They would have selectively leaked out that he was on the list.
Right.
Because the thing is, I hate to break it, there's not going to be a list of names.
It's not a list of names.
Right?
No.
You're going to have a collection of data and evidence.
Right.
If they had data and evidence that Trump was on the list,
Right.
quote unquote,
Well,
they're releasing it for sure.
Right. Well, and that's what Bondi is trying to gaslight everyone. Well, there is no list. And it's like, well, I mean, there never was a list on my desk. Like, it's like, yes, we understand that
Right.
you didn't have an Excel spreadsheet linked to. It's like, we get it. But again, they just try to, like, it's just like the gaslighting. There is something there. If there was nothing there, they should release it. If there's nothing there, why would you not release it? There's nothing there. Why would you not release it? Okay, maybe
But
it doesn't.
what do they do? If there's nothing there, then what is there to release?
Well, at least the evidence to show that what happened between Maxwell, Epstein, what happened on the island. Of course, you can't release the video, and that was another thing that they try to gaslight people on. It's like, oh, what, you want the videos of underage girls? Is that what you want? You like that? It's like, no, dude.
Right.
Like, that's not, again, it's like, it's a manipulative tactic, and it's, we could just go on and on. We've been on this for 25 minutes, but
Well, let me posit this. The reason that Trump and them are trying to move on for it is that they're horribly embarrassed.
right, they are. Yes.
They sat there and campaigned and made such a big deal about all the Epstein stuff, and they were wrong. Because you know what? You know something that might quell concerns is if Trump admitted that he was wrong, or if people within their administration admitted they were wrong. Hey, you know what? I thought that there was, and I was wrong. I came in here like that. That's the thing is like, why there's definitely an effort to sweep it under the table. Undeniably, there's an effort to sweep the Epstein situation under the table.
And just move on as
The
fast as
question
possible.
is why? Is it because you're covering up crimes, or is it because you're covering up your own mistakes?
Yeah.
And I both of them to me are plausible. That it could be either. Another thing on the with all this stuff with like Pam Bondi. And I don't mean this to belittle the heinousness of the crime,
Yeah.
right? But if this were a case of a wealthy pedophile getting busted,
Right.
that never touches the desk of the U.S. Attorney General, right? That's not what the actual Attorney General of the U.S. is involved with. So what could very well be the case is, again, in effort to sound like they're tough, to sound like they're really doing something, they puff up the fact that oh there's a list sitting on my desk, when really it's like probably not,
Yeah.
maybe not. If this is really just, I mean, honestly, if this is just Epstein and Ghislaine and their absolute depravity and their abuse of these young girls, well, that's a serious thing. We have serious assistant U.S. attorneys that handle that stuff. You have the U.S. Attorney's Office that'll do all of that. those crimes do not make it all the way up to the top of the Department of Justice. So under a normal situation, like, yeah, Pam Bondi probably knows nothing about any of the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
So either one, again, you've got gross incompetence or you have an active cover-up. Either way, bye-bye.
Either way, they have been handling it like hell. It is going to have a serious impact. You're already facing an uphill battle on trying to win a midterm, right, as a lame duck. And now you have this weighing down on you. And I mean, maybe there's going to be a political turnaround and the winds will change and things will come around. But every little sphere that I dive into, if people just will not give it up, and I can't stop thinking about it. So moving on to winning a midterm, you are going to have to protect the seats you have or gain more. And that is something that the states have taken on, including Texas.
Very smooth transition to redistricting.
Thank you.
Super smooth to redistricting.
I've been reading a book.
Is it about the debate between John Locke and...
Oh, yeah. I read that one, too, the other night. Yeah. Put me right to sleep.
That's good. It's called The Great Debate.
Okay. Awesome. Actually, I am picking up a book on the Crusades, so I can't wait to get in on that.
I can't wait for
It's actually
news.
about a story of love and betrayal
to
the truth of it all.
Oh, historical fiction.
No, it's like well, let's just move on to this one. But Texas Republicans is from the Texas Scorecard. Texas Republicans ready to redistrict congressional seats. Now, if you were in the sphere of what was going on during the census last time and the redistricting, as far as in the weed politicians and people that are really into this, there was a huge pushback on how far can we redistrict each state and how much can we take as a party, what is fair, what is reasonable, what will be held up in the courts, et cetera, et cetera. So you had states like Tennessee, who I believe have 6 or 7 seats. The Democrats, they got Memphis, and it's like a 95% Democratic congressional district, and the rest. So they, for the Republican Party, that's a +1 after they redistrict. So everyone's like, yes. The pushback from MAGA and some people in the base was like, okay, well, Florida left maybe 2 to 5 seats that could be pickups on a Republican +3 or 4. Texas left a bunch on the table. Texas is now going back to redistrict, and that is what this special session has come to address, is the redistricting of Texas to help pick up more seats to kind of bring a little bit of buffer into this the next House race. You want to speak to that a little bit?
I'm generally opposed to it.
Okay.
So when we did redistricting back in 2021, they drew safe seats. I think across the country, it was, we're going to draw safe seats. And so I think that the prime example in Dallas County is District 24 and District 32.
Okay.
So District 32 had long been Pete Sessions' district until he lost to Colin Allred. And that was one of these districts that he consistently won in, but it was, it was an in-ish play district, as Colin Allred ultimately ended up proving. 24 was kind of the same. Republicans held it, but it was an in-ish play district. Beth Van Dyne is currently in that seat.
What do you mean an in-ish play district? What does that mean?
Okay, so what you generally want to look at is what's the expected margin in the general election. And so if you have a House, my in-ish play is like, if you have a seat that's within like 6 points, so you're thinking like a 53-47 type of seat, that's in play. A really good candidate or a good election style or election cycle can change the vote demographic or change the voter turnout or whatever enough to make up that gap.
Yeah.
Right? You would expect it to be a Republican +6 district, is how that would be called. So you had districts that were like that. And then what they did is they said, well, Colin Allred is currently in 32. So it's a Democrat seat. We want to safeguard some of our other Republican seats. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to peel off some of the liberal parts of Lance Gooden's, I think it's 5, I think it is, Lance Gooden's congressional district. And we're going to peel off some of the good red parts from 32 and give them to Beth Van Dyne in District 24.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make those 2 seats safer. I mean, Lance's seat was already safe. We're going to make Beth Van Dyne's seat safer.
Uh-huh.
But we are also going to turn a competitive CD32 into, when it was first redrawn, it was a D plus 30, a 28 or 30 district.
Yeah.
Which you're talking about now all of a sudden it's 65-35.
Yeah. You're trying to eat up. You're trying to put as many Democratic votes in that seat as possible.
So what they did in the last redistricting was exactly that, and say, look, we're going to draw the lines in such a way that without a doubt, we are going to have a Republican majority of congressional members coming out of Texas. Like and the good part about that and the bad part about that, my theory is still, and it remains, the reason you have not seen a red wave, the reason there was not a red wave in 2022 was because of redistricting. Because the lines were drawn in such a way that you created a bunch of safe seats.
Yeah.
So you made it harder for you to flip congressional seats, but you made it to where you're going to keep your majority. And I really do have concerns going into a midterm election like we are in saying we're going to, in an attempt to pick up some seats,
right,
we're going to water down some of these other Republican districts by adding more Democrats to them so we can take Republican voters and add them to these other districts, and they're going to be closer elections. It's going to be a toss-up type of district. And if everything breaks right for us, we can pick up a bunch of seats. We'll win a bunch of races. But if things don't break right for us, if we have if the economy takes a downturn, if maybe people don't trust your president because he's covering up a pedophile ring, like if something like that happens,
right?
Well, all of a sudden, like you've got to carry that in a midterm with less reliable districts. And so when people say, "Oh, they left X amount on the table," well, yeah, maybe if you look at, the 2024 election results,
right,
which is a high watermark for Republicans since Reagan.
Yeah.
And was really created by a perfect storm of inflation, unstable economy, and a cackling donkey for a presidential candidate for the Democrats.
Right.
Oh, and also a depressed Democrat base, because who was excited about voting for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, right?
Right.
So it was a perfect storm for Republicans. And so you can look at that and say, oh, we left seats on the table.
Yeah.
Well, but what happens if we have another blue year?
It could definitely happen. I mean, history would say it's going to be.
It's going to be. And if we have more competitive seats, we're going to lose them.
Yeah.
We can't, or there's a possibility we lose them. Or, and here's the other thing about it, money. When you have safe seats, you don't have to fundraise, and donors don't have to direct their money there.
Right.
So the money can be spent doing other things. But now if we have an increase in competitive seats, tight races, well, now all of a sudden donors are going to be pulled in more different directions, and you're going to have a more difficult time fundraising, and there's going to be other places where that money can't go anymore. So I understand the bright, shiny, like maybe we can, pick up some new districts and let's see how many seats we can get. But for me, like, okay, you want to add a couple, that's fine. But we better be real careful that we don't, cut our nose off to spite our face.
It's like the optimistic of the golden age that everyone's like ready to ring in, and I think you make some really good points. The fact it's like depressed voter base for last election. No one even nominated or voted in a primary for Kamala
Right.
Harris. You had a kind of a perfect storm. So yeah, if you go back and run the numbers, okay, what about 2022 or 2020 or
Right.
2016, whatever election? How does that actually play out? That's one side of it. But two, historically, the Democrats are going to be more motivated. I mean, look at the No Kings March. We don't have any kings. Yet millions of people still showed up to say no kings, and it's like, yeah, dude, like we don't have any kings. They're motivated. They want to do something. They want to get out. They want to go on the offense. And you're kind of, and then on top of all that, you got these two parallels, and now on top of that, the administration is just kind of not handling things super well as time goes on. I felt like the first 3 or 4 weeks or even 3 months was like really good. But man, there's been some major issues that have not been handled so greatly. And a big number of people that kind of gave us that majority vote we're never going to show up in a midterm.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
They like a lot of them only showed a lot of people only hadn't even voted in the last 2 presidential elections. So it's like, bro, they are not going to show up in a midterm.
Right.
It's going to pass them by and be like, wait, what? What happened? And it's like, that's it. So those are some really good points that like okay, so like let's play this out. Redistricting, we're trying to make more toss-up seats that we think that we could win. So it's like it's toss-up, but a little plus Republican 1 or 2 or whatever. But let's say we keep things the same because we made a bunch of really safe seats. Does that limit the blue wave?
Yeah.
It limits it a lot.
Right.
So instead of giving up, 30 seats or whatever, you'd only give up like 15, which you're still in a minority at that point, and like they can kind of do what they want, but they can't do everything. It's better than them having a Tea Party wave back against us, kind of like, and then look at what happened to Obama's second term. It was kind of just absolutely destroyed because of that. So very, very interesting kind of, I hope you would think that people that are handling this are talking about that and having that open discussion. What do you think? Do you think they're having that open discussion?
I'm sure there are some that are having that open discussion.
Yeah.
The question is this: would you rather set up a system? Would you rather set it up to where you're going to win 6, or you might win 8, but you also might only win 5?
Ooh.
Right? And that's kind of where that's where my concern is. Right now, they redistrict in Texas to where they know they're going to win 6. Right? They know that we are going to have a majority coming out of Texas of Republican members of Congress, and a pretty healthy majority, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so it's a matter of like, okay, well, how much of that healthy majority do you want to risk so that you might win some additional seats? And I think a wave analogy is great. And like from an actual wave, right? How high do you want to build your pier? Do you want to get greedy and have a floating pier where you can always be on the water? That sounds nice. What happens when you have like no water? Well, all of a sudden you're sitting on the ground,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah.
Floating pier doesn't work so well. What they've built in Austin right now, or what they did the last time, was like, no, we've got a set deck,
Yeah.
and this is what we're going to have. And yeah, We might not lap up as many seats as we possibly can get, but we know what we're going to get. And so I think that's what they did last time. And I honestly do worry with the redistricting, because I hear the voices and I hear them like, oh, we could get 4, 5, 6 more seats in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You could lose that many depending upon how close of a margin you want to have with some of the stuff. I mean, I look at Dallas County, for example. Where do we carve Dallas County up to get more seats?
Yeah.
What I worry about okay, well, maybe they want to try to carve another seat into Tarrant County. So now all of a sudden, okay, well, let's change Jake Elsey's district. Let's give him more Dallas and less Tarrant.
Right.
Let's change Beth Van Dyne's district. Let's give her more Dallas and less Tarrant. And I don't know how precise or how much that, how close they can get on that. Those are my worries. And like I said, it's not just a matter of the seats, but there's also the bigger political implication of fundraising, political talent. It's like there's only so many consultants to go out there that are really good at what they're doing. The more and more the more Republicans you have in competitive races, the more you have to split those resources. And then the more watered down things get. Like, it's just, there's a lot of reasons why the redistricting stuff, you should walk into it sober. Do I think that they could redistrict and safely add some seats? Probably yes.
Yeah, but do they go overboard with it?
You just have to go into it with sober expectations.
Right.
That's my thing. Is I have confidence that the legislator down there will have a sober set of eyes. But the problem is I fear that certain conservative publications are not going to be happy if we just add 2, maybe 3, 1, 2, 3 seats. They're going to want to hear from Austin that we added 6 new Republican Congress people.
Right.
That's the worry that I have, because the irony is the same people that are saying that we should be adding 5 or 6 or 7 or however many new congressional seats, they're really wanting to push the limits, have the ideological political views that would lose those seats.
Yes. Yeah, they're definitely not middle of the road.
Right. And you don't have to be middle of the road. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I heard a really interesting description of what it is to be a moderate. Okay. And the way that a lot of people talk about being a moderate is you have the Republican view, you have the right-wing view, you have the left-wing view on an issue. And people think of moderates as, they pick somewhere in between that, right? So it's an abortion issue. They pick somewhere between, up to the point of birth or total ban, and they find some place in the middle.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with political moderates, it's not actually how it works. The reason they're a moderate is because of the specific issues where they will disagree with their party. Where it's like, yeah, you know what? I am a Republican. I am down for it all, but I want tariffs. Mm. And up until 2024, arguably 2025, that would have been a Democrat position. That would have been inconsistent with the Republican platform, which would have called for free trade. Or let's say you are deficit spending. How big is the deficit under the big, beautiful bill?
Huge.
Right? That's
Huge.
not particularly conservative.
No, it's not. Not at all.
But that's usually how moderates work, right? It's not a matter of they look at all the political views and they just pick positions in the middle. It's, I have 7 positions that align with the Republican Party and I have 3 positions that align with the Democrat Party. Mm. That's how you get moderates most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, I think that's yeah.
And so that's where, and again, Donald Trump is a moderate.
He's a moderate, yes.
Right? Like he is not a far right Republican.
No, as much as people try to make, or I guess the media really tries to make him out to be, it's like, think about this. Before he came down the escalator, I'm talking about months before he came down the escalator, Bernie Sanders was like, we need to close our border.
Right.
It's a Koch brothers not conspiracy, but plan to keep the open borders. And he's a union guy, and it was, let's close the border. Man, as soon as Trump was like, they're bringing drugs, and it's like all of a sudden he's like, Donald Trump's a rapist,
Right.
We're not going to do this.
I would encourage. So last episode we had Miss Shepherd on. We asked her favorite political movie. She said The Campaign. It's a comedy. Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis.
Oh yeah.
I would encourage everybody to watch that movie. I'm gonna warn you, it's not G-rated. There's definitely gonna be some racy stuff in there, but there's a couple of key points that I wanted to bring about this. One is it's obviously written where the Republicans are the villains, right? The dad, Zach Galifianakis, is the Republican. Will Ferrell is the Democrat.
Right.
Will Ferrell is basically Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis, whatever. He's not based on anybody, but his dad is friends with that universe's version of the Koch brothers, right? Played by Dan Aykroyd and John Lithgow. And in that movie, the conclusion of the movie is that Zach Galifianakis, spoiler alert, wins the election. But the reason he wins the election is because the Koch brothers in that movie own the company that makes the voting machines.
Oh,
and so
my gosh,
you have
yeah.
Adam McKay and Will Ferrell in this very Democrat movie. And the end of the movie is that the election was rigged because the machines were rigged by the people that made them.
That's too rich.
And the reason for that, if you remember, you might be too young to remember this, is because that's what the Democrats claimed in 2004, and that's how Bush won Ohio.
Yeah,
was because of these crooked voting machines.
that's right.
Also in that movie, you had the evil Republicans were working with China to outsource jobs and actually to bring Chinese people into America to work in America.
Whoa, dude.
Right.
I need to rewatch that.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about the voting machine
Oh
thing.
man, it's hilarious because it's, to your point, it's the script is flipped on that point. Taking it back to what we were like, taking it back to the redistricting conversation is if you decide that you want, because the only way that you're going to be able to add more Republican seats is by adding more Democrats to certain current Republican seats.
Right.
Like, for a fact that you are taking voters that are Democrat voters and you are moving them from a Democrat seat,
Like 32.
like 32,
Moving them.
and you are moving them into a current Republican seat,
Right.
like Beth Van Dyne in 24. I'm not saying that that's how they're going to redraw, but as an example.
Right.
So that means you are now going to have a more Democrat constituency voting in the general in that race
Right.
for the opportunity of having another one that's also going to be a fairly even balance.
Yeah.
This is where like candidate messaging is going to be incredibly important if you're going to take advantage of that. And you are not going to be able to be a far right Republican if you want to redistrict and have more evenly split districts that we might be able to win.
Yeah.
Because you're not like, and I get it, and I love I love the enthusiasm. I love it. But in one election cycle, you're not going to go out there and convince former Democrat voters to flip and vote Republican.
Right. Yeah. Especially 99% of politicians that are just so buttoned up, and there are politicians. Donald Trump is a massive, several standard deviations away
Right.
from your run-of-the-mill politician. He was able to do that. Other people are not going to be able to do that.
Well, because that happens at the presidential level.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of the population that will switch back and forth voting for who's at the top of the ticket from the president.
Yeah.
Those same people do not do that down ballot.
No.
Right? I
No,
mean,
they
you're
don't.
not going to have, like, very, very, very rarely do you have a voter that's going to be a Republican voter in CD32 in one cycle and become a Democrat in the next cycle, or vice versa. That usually does not happen. You're going to vote one way or the other. You might pop back and forth on the presidential level, but you're not going to do it at the down ballot.
Right.
So big concerns on the redistricting front on that. Here's another fun one that I want to bring up. We talked about, you know, there are 18 items that are in the special session. And so for those of you that aren't particularly familiar with Texas politics or new to it, learning about it, the way it works is that we have a regular session of the legislature that's called every 2 years. Starts in January, ends in either end of May or first part of June. The governor has the ability to call a special session after the regular session is done and say, hey, I need the legislature to come back here. I need them to come back to Austin because there are certain issues that they didn't get addressed during the regular session that I'm calling for now. So we have that. So Governor Abbott announced that he was calling a special session, and he announced the 18 issues that they're going to be down there voting on. And, you know, we're not going to go through and read all of them. There's lots of places online that you can go to find a list of them. But there are a few of them, like redistricting is one of them that we'll talk about. The other one, so like, for example, and this was added, you know, obviously we have the horrific flooding in the Hill Country. That's something that's being addressed in the special session. Governor Abbott added, you know, emergency preparedness, an early warning for floods. There are those sort of measures, additional funding to help people in the Hill Country. Those are 3 items that were of the 18 that are there for special session. The ones I want to bring up to you are Lieutenant Dan Patrick's THC legislation.
Boy, he just will not. He will not give this up.
So I remember I was at the Collin County Republican Lincoln Day dinner.
Yeah.
Great time. Go to Collin Counties. It's so much fun. It's at South Fork Ranch.
That was with Ted. They brought Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent was there. Ted Nugent played the national anthem. He gave a great speech. Actually called out Lieutenant Dan Patrick on there. Lieutenant Dan. And but Dan Patrick was there. He spoke. You know, the RPT chair Abraham George was there. Angela Paxton was there. Like, it was a full house. Like, Collin County always fills the house out for that thing. It was a great time. I think they made like $80,000+ in profit off of the event. So like almost double or triple, quadrupled what we did here in Dallas. Dan Patrick, when he was there, was talking on stage about his THC ban stuff and how this was like one of the biggest issues that he's ever taken up.
Yeah.
And how super important it was to him and all that sort of stuff. Right. And I will say, even at the Collin County, like, it was not an audience.
It was not well received.
Right? He did not get a standing ovation for, I'm going after the THC or the Delta 9 or whatever the products are. Now, I will full disclosure, I do not use any of that stuff. I'm not asking anybody to out themselves what they do. So I'm totally ignorant about what the products actually are. So if I end up sounding like an old man on his front porch yelling at kids in the grass, it's because I am on this issue.
Comment below if you like to use drugs. That's what you're saying, right?
No, because that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole thing, is that the THC stuff aren't legally considered to be drugs.
Yeah.
Right? Like right now, if you wanted to go buy some of that Delta 9 stuff, you could go do it. It's legal. There's not a problem with it.
Yeah.
Maybe not specifically right now, but you get my drift.
You can go to smoke shops and get different, like before, like when I was in high school, this thing called K2. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I mean, it's really bad for you. Obviously, this stuff
about the mountain.
What?
Talking about the mountain?
No, it was called K2, and you would smoke it just like you would smoke marijuana.
Other kids would smoke it.
Yeah, other kids would
Yeah.
smoke it just like you would smoke marijuana, but it wouldn't show up in a drug test, and but it's like so terribly bad for you, as most things are that screw you up. So his thing right here is like legislation making it a crime to provide hemp-driven products to children under 21 of age.
Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in that.
Okay.
That is Governor Abbott's thing.
Okay.
That is not Dan Patrick's thing.
Okay.
Because the bill that Dan Patrick was pushing banned it in its entirety.
Oh.
Right? Doesn't matter how old you are.
Okay.
You banned it in its entirety. What Governor Abbott did is Governor Abbott vetoed the bill that was passed that Dan Patrick was pushing.
Yeah, he was very pissed about that.
And I'm 100% behind Governor Abbott
On that one, yeah.
On that one, because Governor Abbott, and he put it out there. He's like, look, he used to be on the Texas Supreme Court. He used to be the Texas Attorney General. He looked at it and said, this will fail in court. This is unconstitutional.
This is a waste of time.
You currently have businesses, lots and lots of businesses, that are selling this as a legal product. And so they have a certain right to continue to do that. And you are taking that away from them. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to do that, you have to pass constitutional muster. Like you've got to pass your due process protections. And he looked at it and said, this ain't going to do it.
Right.
There's not enough here to sit there and blanket ban it all, which is why for the special session, he said, we're going to look at under 21.
Yep.
And of course, you got forming brains, all that stuff. We're going to under 21, and we're going to look at putting limits on it for over 21. We're going to regulate it like we would alcohol.
Right.
And we're going to limit it under 21 like we would alcohol.
Yeah. And it's like, that's, to me, very reasonable. My thing about the whole like Dan Patrick thing is like, what is the goal there? I mean, what is your constituency for that? What are you trying to achieve just politically? Mm-hmm. I understand what you're trying, but politically, it's like it's a major loss. Obviously the courts are going to say no. The amount of money that you would get going against you in lobbying would be, I mean, think about the real estate. People are leasing those places out. The people that own the head shops. I mean, there'd be a lot of money generated going against that.
So you want my theory?
Oh, of course you can give it to me. But yes, I want it.
Dan Patrick receives a pretty significant amount of money from the medical marijuana lobbyists and their groups.
Yeah.
And those were the people that were taking it in the shorts over all of this new THC stuff. Because now people didn't have to go get a prescription and go get the more expensive medical marijuana.
Right.
They could just go buy the Delta 9 or whatever it is, the stuff that he's trying to ban.
Did Scorecard cover that?
I don't know.
That's an interesting point. It's like, wait, you take money from... Okay.
That's what my theory is that it was not... Because here's the thing, for Dan Patrick, and I would say generally looking at it, it's not an issue that you would expect to lose elections over. Because I generally the people that are really passionate about legalizing marijuana or at least decriminalizing that sort of stuff, predominantly they are Democrat voters.
Sure.
You do have a voice of that within the Republican Party, but it is not a majority. It's not the big share. So it's like, okay, this is an issue that is going to upset people that already don't like me.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to lose a lot of support for it for pushing this on my side. There might be people like, I don't know, I go on a limb and think both of us don't think that Dan Patrick's bill was the best thing in the world.
No.
But are you going to vote for a Democrat against Dan Patrick in the next election?
Good point. No, I wouldn't. I just think it is not great PR.
It's not.
It's just one more thing to not make, I hate to say it, young people not attracted to the Republican Party. Not that, hey, come vote Republican, we'll make sure you can get some weed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not the message, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, if we're going to have liquor on the shelves.
Yeah, but if you're Dan Patrick,
right,
and you're looking at statewide elections, older people vote more and more consistently
Yep.
and more consistently Republican.
Yep.
Young people vote far less and are much more likely to vote Democrat. So if it's an issue, like again, he picked an issue that, and I'm, maybe this is something, maybe he really feels this passionately about it. Maybe he personally knows the one person that's died from this stuff or whatever. I don't know. But
Must have smoked a fucking telephone pole.
right. Maybe he does deeply personally care about it. I'm more cynical than that.
Sure.
If it's a matter of saying, okay, well, I'm appeasing my medical marijuana donors
Yeah.
on an issue, and the people who are going to be mad at me are low voter propensity and tend to vote Democrat,
No loss there.
no loss there.
In his mind. Yeah.
I'll take that all day long. I can also tout myself to my Christian conservative base that, want more criminalization of, like stimulants, however you would want to put it. They're only going to like me more.
Be a depressant. Yeah.
I was trying not to say drugs because again, this THC stuff,
It's not
it's not considered a drug at this point. It's just a depressant, stimulant product, whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. So like it got vetoed, but Abbott is a team player, and he's like, okay, cool. Let's put together this instead, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's do the 21 and older. That's a pretty standard thing for most products
Right.
now. Let's see what we can do to regulate it, and then we'll go from there.
Right.
That's it.
Hey, we're gonna regulate the product. It's now in the market. We're gonna make sure that it's not made too strong, just like with alcohol, like we would do. We're gonna place limits on that, or at least require certain packaging, labeling, whatever. We're gonna try to make the product safer through regulation. Again, it's sort of ironic that a Republican would necessarily be the one to want to do that. And then we're also gonna make sure that children can't get to it.
Yeah.
Seems like a reasonable step to take on that.
Yeah. No, and that is, I mean, I'm all about that. Like that's completely fine. I do like that. I will say that there's one thing I do like that, Texas, we got through the legislative session and overall, it was pretty good, right? But there were still some things that were not done. And so he's called another 30 days, and these are the specific things they're going to hit.
Right.
And it's like, that's why it's awesome to live in Texas. Like, there is a ethic of like, hey, these are things that we need to get done. Like, and we're going to get these done.
Right.
And I mean, the list is fairly, I think it's fairly well rounded. I do like that we did have some water reforms, and we're going back and adding to it. And the drug thing, the hemp derived products. It's like, hey, my second command really wanted this. No, but here's what I will do for you. It's 2 of the 17 things. So there's legislating making it a crime to provide hemp-derived products to children under 21 years of age, which are children under 21 years of age. But anyways, legislation to comprehensively regulate hemp-derived products, including limited potency, restricting synthetically modified compounds. So there's 2 different things that they have to address in there, which again, I do think it is good. They're kind of touching back on the abortion thing. I think that they're addressing some of the things with the abortion legislation, farther protecting unborn children and their mothers from the harm of an abortion. So, we had those few stories, where there were, and a lot of them turned out to be very misleading, I will say, about, women they would take abortion pills fairly late, and then they'd go septic. Or they would get infections because, like, hey, you haven't dealt with it. Like, you have to go to a doctor, and they would wait. And so the story of like them bleeding out of parking lots, like, well, yeah, because they were bleeding at home. They drove to the hospital, right? And so they're addressing those things, which I do think is is awesome. What are a few other things that you care to touch on, if any?
So I think the biggest one, and this is something that it frustrates me that like this is where the Dan Patrick THC stuff becomes a problem. Is there's so much attention in that. One of the things is to cut property taxes. Like continue the efforts from the session to cut property taxes.
That'd be huge.
Why is that not the number one thing that every Republican is talking about with special session? Like if I was a Republican in office right now, my message to my constituents is, I'm going to go down to Austin to cut your property taxes.
Yeah.
There are other things that we're going to be doing down there, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do two things right now. I'm going to go take care of those people in the hill country that suffered from the flooding.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to lower your property taxes. Anything else I do down there is gravy.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like the biggest thing. Like this is the focus. We have to do these things. And I'm happy about that. My concern is that we get distracted with some of this other stuff because it's sexier. Right?
It is. Yeah, it definitely is.
I'll tell you one, and eventually I will get to argue with somebody about this.
Okay.
For some reason, banning taxpayer-funded lobbying for municipalities is one of the 18 things in the special session.
Yeah.
I understand that there are Republicans that want to do that. But you cannot convince me that the general public voters in Texas, that's one of the most 18 important things to them at the moment.
Oh, I don't think it is.
Like those are the sort of things, and I know why Abbott did it. It's one of the legislative priorities. So he's, appeasing people within the party that's what they really care about. That's fine, right? That's good politics by the governor.
Right.
But again, point of frustration for me, you cannot convince me that is one of the most important things to accomplish to voters. And if you're going to call a special session, I think everything that's on the list for that special session should be something that voters are like, yes, thank you. Yeah. I can't believe they didn't get this accomplished when they called the session. Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah. Fair point. I'm a little bit kind of like, it's more or less like, it's like me hiring a professional. Like they're going to think about things that I haven't thought about. Like if I hired you as a lawyer or like my CPA, like I'm not like, obviously I want a massive refund for my taxes, but like, hey, what are some other things that I should be thinking about? And I think that maybe he looks at that as like a good, like Republican win, or maybe it's not a Republican thing, but maybe it's a systems win, or maybe just kind of like, hey, this is a wrong that we're trying to right. I think if we only went off for the special session anyway, I think if we only went off like the hot button issues that people would like, it's like we'd only end up with, like you said, like kind of the catchy headline things. We'd only be down there for hill country and abortion and THC, and
we would not be down there for abortion. You cannot convince me that a majority of the voters in Texas right now are clamoring to ban abortion pills.
Are clamoring to ban them?
Right. Because that's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to ban the abortion pill.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with the banning the abortion pill.
Right.
I'm just, again, like this is where, you're right. Some of this stuff is definitely I'm going to do this for the sake of politics.
Yeah.
I know that there are the people in the base that they really want this. So I will add this to the special session so that when I, as Governor Abbott, run again in 2028, my primary opponent can't say that I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Right?
Yeah.
I get that. But again, so like I'll use an example. One issue we haven't talked about: eliminating the STAR test.
Yep.
Changing the STAR test.
That was next up on my list.
I think that's a great issue for the special session.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things that needs like a limited focus attention in order to get accomplished. that in the grand swath of a regular session gets swallowed amongst all of the other things. And we all have taken standardized testing. It might not have all been the STAR test. Honestly, I'm so old I don't even remember what it was called when I took it.
Test.
I think tax is what I had as
Yeah.
well. We've all taken standardized tests, or your family and you've got kids that are taking standardized tests.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good issue to sit there and say, we're getting rid of these stupid standardized tests. You know, like we're fixing them. That's a win for Texas families. I think that's an example of a good limited issue.
Yep.
Because then the other side of it is, what's the blowback?
I don't think there is on that one. I
Right.
don't think there is a lot of blowback. I don't think that parents like it, but I know teachers hate it.
Right.
And this whole thing with the school choice and how when that thing, I mean, we got on that forever. You know, when this thing passes, that's it.
Right.
We're all going back to the 15th century. No one's going to know how to read or write. And it's like, okay, no, that's true. And if anything, and our governor has come through consistently for teachers now.
Right.
I mean, I believe, and I think it's going to show in very quick time. The school choice thing is going to be good for teachers. It's going to be great for students.
Yes.
He got everyone a raise.
Yep.
He got everyone like a cash raise. Boom. Like, no, this is going to teachers. This is not going to buy new laptops for everyone. No, it is
Right.
going to their paycheck. Boom. And that did happen. And teachers got that plus whatever their ISD has decided as a percentage raise.
Right.
Okay. So that's really good. This is another thing that I think that
Also empowered teachers to get rid of cell phones in their classrooms.
that's another thing. Yes, that's going to be huge. I think that we are kind of turning the page as like a society of like, yeah, okay, these kids are out of control.
Yeah.
Like these kids are absolutely out of control. It's making it dangerous, especially like if you're a middle or high school teacher, is getting dangerous in a lot of situations for the teachers. Of course, we want to hold teachers accountable. We've had that conversation as far as like harassment and things like that. But we're also really, I really do am liking the way that the society is moving with like, no, you need to sit your ass down. You need to do what you're told. The whole phone thing is awesome, but I know teachers are going to love this. What replaces it? I hope it kind of goes more back to the ISDs. Of course, we got to make sure that, people are being taught, but at the same time, with the school choice thing, it was kind of left open vaguely of like what the metric is going to be. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay with, hey, you have to follow one of these 9 different standards or whatever. And, good luck.
Right.
Like I trust that parents are going to be able to do that. And I believe in the marketplace. And I think that there's going to be a lot of schools and a lot of churches and a lot of ISDs that are going to be able to run with this and really show some impressive things.
Yeah. It was funny. I was at a charity event, and I was talking to an administrator at a very large private school in Dallas. And I was talking to them after, about the school choice stuff. And from this person's perspective, from this large school that, the wealthy of Dallas and their kids too,
Yep.
their take was like, we don't care at all about the school choice stuff.
Right.
Because if you get in here, or you can get in here, we have enough money, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like you're an extra whatever 8,000 or 10,000 or whatever we would get from school choice, that just does not matter to us. If you get in and you can't pay for it, we've got the money to cover you. So it was interesting to hear that perspective from those schools, because there was such a big deal from the left of, oh, this is just, a way to subsidize these wealthy schools and these rich people and all this sort of stuff. When it's like, no. From the schools themselves, it's like, yeah, we don't care. School choice, they don't. Those big schools that the rich people send their kids to, that whatever that stupid Texas House Democrat made his rounds on, those schools aren't going to take the money because they don't want any strings attached. They don't care. We have enough money. We don't need the extra $10,000 to have to be within whatever the state's, curriculum scheme would be or whatnot. I just thought that was sort of interesting since you brought up school choice.
No, it is interesting, and also to kind of throw on top of that, it's means tested. So if it was, for a couple, I think if they made over 100 and something thousand, like 148,000 or 78,000, something like that, you can't get the money anyway. So it's like it was means tested, which I thought was really reasonable, and was hoping to kind of see the some Democrats kind of realize that and then move towards voting for that, because
you don't need to be honest when talking about the issues. You just need to excite voters.
Okay. Yeah, true. So, but it's means that, so like those big schools, a lot of those people, like you said, they're like, oh, well, cool, but also I make more than that.
Right. I don't need your money.
Yeah.
We have we have an endowment. We have, we'll have one dinner and make our yearly budget or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anything else from the special session that caught your eye or that you want to chat about?
No, I mean those were the biggest ones. I've been very happy with Texas and what Texas has done, taking on the hard issues. Even though it kind of got off with a rocky start with who's going to be the speaker and this and that and all the different, political factions and everything. I really think that Texas voters should be pleased with how everything went.
Right.
And if, we're kind of in the sphere of the county parties and the different groups and everything like that. It's like, I mean, you really don't have a lot to be upset about.
I agree. Not a lot of people agree with us, but not a lot of people within the county parties agree with us, but I agree on that.
Right.
Like I look at what the legislature did and I'm like, yeah, okay. A quick aside, if you'll allow me.
Please.
So I was recently having a conversation with friends of different political affiliations.
Ew. You hang out with people that think differently?
I do.
It's disgusting.
I know. It's a perversion of mine, I guess. And the big beautiful bill came up. Right? And they were circulating some quotes from Republicans that voted for the big beautiful bill but said, "Oh, I really didn't like this, or I didn't really love it, but I needed to vote for it," this sort of stuff to kind of denigrate the bill. I'm like,
sure.
Every omnibus bill that's ever been proposed has that. You will, Bernie Sanders, when signing Obamacare, said that he really wished it was universal health care, but this is a step in the right direction. Yeah. Every time you have an omnibus bill, whether it's proposed by the left or the right or whoever passes it, you're always going to have those in it that say, "Oh, well, I wish it didn't do this, this, and this, but on balance, I had to vote for it."
Yeah.
Right? And the reason that they like to do that is for their primaries. Is so in the primaries, they can say, "Oh, well, I did vote for this, I did vote for the big, beautiful bill, and it allowed these things to happen, but really, I didn't want that. I would have voted against if it was separate." It's a primary game, and it's the reason that they do all this sort of stuff. But the important part about that is I kind of want almost all votes to sort of be like that. I like a legislature that doesn't feel completely fulfilled when they get out. Because to me, that means two things. One, it means that they're aspirational and they're looking for ways to improve. And so no session they go to, they're going to come home and say, "We did it, 100% victory, we accomplished everything."
Yeah.
Because there's more aspirational stuff. There's more ways that we can improve. The other part of it is it's also just sort of that's how the government should kind of function, where you do have to compromise, where you're not going to get absolutely everything that you want unless you have that sort of consensus, right? If you've won hearts and minds on an issue and 95% of people agree with you, sure, you go propose a bill, you get everything that you want. Mm-hmm. But you pick an issue like tax reform, and you're going to have people that have different visions for how to do that, how much to cut, how much to keep. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going down to the legislative session and being like, I wish we could have done more. I don't know.
I love how when you're talking about this, we have the Fast and Furious
Yeah.
going on
Oh,
down
yeah.
75. If you guys can hear that, those are a bunch of crotch rockets just out there, probably going 100 miles per hour down 75. But I agree. I mean, the whole, if you get everything you want, that is kind of an oddity.
You probably didn't want enough.
You probably didn't want enough.
Right.
You're like, oh, I'm this single. It's like you might be a single issue candidate, but there's no way your constituencies are.
Right.
Like, dude, they have other needs and wants. It's like if your biggest thing is health, fill in the blank. It's like, okay, dude, you're there to represent your people,
Right.
and so to come with the compromise. I mean, I the big beautiful bill. I mean, obviously, everyone wishes. I do kind of like how Texas does it, where the bills are a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more focused.
Right.
That's fine. But I do. That's a really good point. It's like, hey, they show up, they're not satisfied. You need to go back to make it, and you're just kind of moving. What do they say in football? You're moving the chains,
Right.
Moving the whatever. That's okay. That's like it's not an all or nothing thing. It's like you kind of take what you can get.
Every play isn't designed to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need 3 yards. Right. And I'll tell you somebody, to give her credit, Tammy Brown Rodriguez on our board and working with Jaco Booyan's ministries and with the Dallas County GOP. Tammy's a fantastic example of this, right? Like Tammy had a set of legislation that she drafted that she wanted passed. And then she went down to Austin and she understood that she wasn't going to get everything that she wanted in her legislation. But instead of like fighting with people in Austin about it, she took the wins that she could get to move that issue. Is everything that Tammy wants to do with human trafficking accomplished? Absolutely not. But because she made incremental improvements, are Texas kids safer in 2026 than they were in 2024? Absolutely. And I think that's the responsible way to think about your approach to legislation. Are we making improvements? Are we moving in the right direction? Because next year, Tammy can try to push it a little bit further.
And she's more well known.
She's more well known. Maybe some of the things that she said were going to be wrong with the bill and some of the negative externalities, maybe those things did happen. And she can go back and talk to the legislature and say, I'm not going to say I told you so, but which then changes hearts and minds to, okay, now we're going to, that's the way that you make serious improvements through government. Whenever we have these sort of like big nuclear moments, and I think the first 100 days of Obama's administration are a great example. The Obama bailout and the Obamacare in the first 100 days were nuclear bombs in the American political world that the Democrats ramrodded through, their majorities. Didn't need any Republican votes. They pushed it, they ramrodded it through.
Yeah.
And the blowback, the creation of the Tea Party, and I think ultimately the creation of Trump, you could stem back to that moment.
You could. I mean, 100%. I mean, the Tea Party, and that is the biggest midterm wave ever seen. And the Tea Party died off, but it really did. It was kind of recreating itself, and it turned back up as MAGA. So
As America First, yeah.
As America First. So if you thought that the Tea Party was extreme, well.
Right. I mean, look, honestly, a lot of the most prominent Tea Party people that I know wear their red hat 4 or 5 days a week. It's the same. It's the same nucleus of people that sort of evolved with that. But this is where I'm okay with some incrementalism down in Austin. This is where I'm okay with just moving the ball down the field like we did. I'm very pleased with the session. I'm optimistic about the special session on some of the stuff that we can do.
Yeah.
And that we can carry into 2026 because we're going to need all the help we can get.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a big fight.
Yes.
So we need Kyle's current events. Anything else you wanted to add to the mix?
No, man, I think we had a really good one. We talked a lot about Texas, which is important, and we talked about Washington D.C. and the cesspool it is. So I think we should wrap it up here.
Okay. Is that the new outro? Wrap it up here?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, Kyle, always enjoy, we have a new spot now.
Yep.
So enjoyed getting all set up. Thank you for all that you do to make this possible. Thank you all that are watching. Again, like our video, share it with friends, subscribe to the channel. We try to put this out, on a weekly basis. We've got some new things that are going to come up. Once we get those established, we'll let you know. We've got some guests coming up that I think you're going to find really interesting about some of the topics that you're going to want to know about. Like, we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court in our next episode. We're going to have a great guest to help us do that. But thank you for watching. Please help support us by subscribing, by liking, by sharing. Go in the comments. Don't talk about drug use like Kyle said earlier. Talk about the things that you want us to cover, issues you want us to cover on future episodes. Respond to what we had to say here. Like, we want to hear what your thoughts are. Like, again, the reason that we do this is because we want to get more people involved. We want to inspire people. We want people to be more well informed, especially with all the things that are going on. So give us your best Epstein theories. Give us your best Kyle's mustache theories. We want to hear from you. But as always, thank you for joining A Better Conversation.